Most women believe they'll just know when they're the one for him. But here's the truth no one talks about. It's not that women lack intuition. In fact, their gut is often right. The problem is that feeling of safety, comfort, and routine can numb their inner voice. He might be kind, he might be present, but deep down, something feels off. And yet, they stay because it feels safe enough. But real love, the kind that anchors a man's soul to you, it comes with signs, rare ones, and only a few women ever learn to see them for what they truly are, not comfort, but commitment at a soul level. I'm Vernon, and today I want to share with you 5 profound ways that older men express their deepest love. This isn't just observation, my friend. This is wisdom earned through experience, pain, joy, and the understanding that comes only with time. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn might completely transform how you recognize love in your own life. But don't just watch and scroll. Hit that subscribe button and tap the bell icon, because what I'm sharing next could change the way you see love forever. Let's take a closer look at the very first sign, the kind of gesture that often goes unnoticed but speaks volumes. Number 1. The silent guardian's watch. My neighbor Harold taught me about love without ever saying a word about it. Harold is 68, married to his college sweetheart Martha for 45 years. Every morning, without fail, I watch him step onto his porch at exactly 6:47 a.m., not to check the weather or retrieve the newspaper, but for something far more profound. He stands there, coffee in hand, watching Martha's car disappear around the corner as she heads to her part-time job at the library. And he doesn't move until that red Honda is completely out of sight. This is what the ancient Stoics called protective vigilance, a quiet strength, always watchful, never overbearing. And it's the first way mature men love differently. When a man has truly found his one, something shifts inside him. He no longer seeks to impress or dominate. He simply chooses to protect. Not with grand declarations or jealous outbursts, but with presence. He's the one who walks closest to the street, even if you never notice. He's the one who checks the tires before a long trip, listens when you mention that pain in your back, and remembers the small things. Not to earn love, but to give it. He doesn't hover, he doesn't control, but he watches, prepares, anticipates. And that is the first sign you're with a man who has grown, not just older, but wiser in love. I've seen this in my own life. 20 years ago, when my former wife Sarah would work late at the hospital, I'd find myself unconsciously timing my evening routine around her return. Not because I was worried, she was perfectly capable, but because my soul needed to know she was safe. Dr. John Gottman's studies reveal that men in lasting relationships develop what he called protective attunement, a subconscious monitoring system that activates only for their most cherished person. It's not anxiety, it's love expressing itself through gentle vigilance. So how do you recognize this kind of love in your own life? Look for the subtle rhythms. Does he quietly adjust his habits to fit your comfort? Does he notice when you're tired before you even say a word? And if you're not sure it's there yet, don't panic. Sometimes all it takes is a moment of honest vulnerability, a soft truth spoken in stillness to awaken the guardian instinct in a man who's still learning what it means to love with presence, not performance. If you're a woman wondering whether you're the one in a man's life, notice if he has an almost supernatural awareness of your comings and goings. Not in a suffocating way, but like a lighthouse keeper who naturally knows when his beacon is most needed. Have you noticed this protective awareness in your own relationships? Let me know in the comments how this rings true for you. While his watchful presence may be silent, the next sign of mature love is even quieter, found not in action, but in what he allows himself to feel. Number 2, the keeper of small details. This leads me to something even more subtle, something that connects to our next insight about how mature love manifests. My brother-in-law, James, at 62, has a peculiar habit that his wife Patricia discovered only by accident. In his wallet, tucked behind his driver's license, he keeps a small piece of paper with what looks like random notes: lavender tea, Tuesday afternoons, dislikes loud restaurants after 3 p.m., loves thunderstorms but worries about the oak tree. When Patricia asked him about it, James simply said, "These are the things that matter to you. I don't want to forget." This is the second way older men love the one. They become keepers of small details. While younger men might remember birthdays or plan big anniversary dinners, a mature man is quietly building a mental library filled with the smallest, most personal entries. He knows how you take your coffee, not just the cream and sugar, but the exact mug you prefer when you're tired. He remembers the look on your face when that song comes on the radio, the way your fingers tap when you're thinking, the scent that calms you when you're overwhelmed. To the outside world, these things might seem trivial, even forgettable, but to him, they are sacred. Memorizing these details isn't about obligation, it's about reverence. He studies you not because he has to, but because he wants to understand the full depth of who you are, not just the headlines, but the footnotes. I experienced this myself with my ex-wife. I could tell her exact coffee preference, medium roast, 1 sugar, splash of cream, but only if it's real cream, how she liked her pillows arranged, 3 with the smallest one slightly angled, and the precise way she'd scrunch her nose when thinking deeply. These weren't conscious efforts to memorize. They were love letters written in the language of attention. As the philosopher Emmanuel Levinas wrote, "The face of the other calls us to responsibility." And for mature men, that responsibility includes safeguarding the sacred details of who she truly is. The wisdom for women? If a man remembers not just your birthday, but the fact that you prefer your tea lukewarm, or that you feel most creative on rainy afternoons, you've found someone who sees you as irreplaceable. Before we continue, let me reflect on what we've discovered so far. We've seen how mature men become silent guardians, creating invisible shields of security, and how they transform into keepers of small details, treasuring the tiny things that make their beloved unique. These aren't just behaviors, they're sacred practices, refined by years of understanding what truly matters in love. If you're wondering whether this kind of love exists in your life, pay attention to the tiny moments when he adjusts the AC because he knows you get cold easily, or when he brings home the snack you only mentioned once weeks ago. And if it's not there yet, you can invite it, not by demanding attention, but by letting yourself be fully seen. Share your quirks without shame, your preferences without apology. Sometimes it's in that safe, unfiltered honesty that a man begins to take notes, not with pen and paper, but with his heart. This attention to detail creates something beautiful, which leads us to our next profound insight.
Number 3. The builder of tomorrow's dreams. I believe here's where older men love the one might surprise you, because it's about something most people think diminishes with age: the future. I was diagnosed with early-stage arthritis 6 years ago. The news hit harder than I expected, not just because of the physical pain, but because of what it might mean for our future. Long hikes, dancing in the kitchen, spontaneous travel, all the little things that made life feel free suddenly felt uncertain. But instead of becoming bitter or shrinking into limitation, I did something no one knew about. I started secretly learning Spanish, not for myself, but because my former wife had always dreamed of spending our golden years traveling through South America. Every night after she fell asleep, I'd whisper conjugations to myself under the covers, imagining us ordering empanadas in Buenos Aires or getting lost in a market in Cusco. This is what I call being a builder of tomorrow's dreams. When a mature man has truly found the one, something profound happens. He begins to look at the future not just through the lens of responsibility, but through the eyes of love. Yes, he'll plan for stability, retirement funds, health insurance, a roof that doesn't leak. But beyond the practical, he becomes an architect of shared joy, sketching out quiet weekends by the lake because he remembers how the sound of water soothes her. Booking that art class he has no interest in simply because she once said she wished someone would paint with her. He's not chasing adventure for himself anymore. He's building a life, not just a schedule, that makes her smile. And even when the plans feel clumsy or unfamiliar, he steps forward anyway. Not because the dream is his, but because it's hers. And making it real is how he says, "You matter more than my comfort." It's subtle. It's often unspoken. But when a man begins shaping tomorrow with her happiness in mind, that's no longer just love, that's commitment carved in daily intention. Stanford's Center on Aging found that men over 55 in deeply committed relationships show increased neuroplasticity. Their brains literally rewire themselves to accommodate new learning when it serves their partner's happiness. Love, it seems, keeps the aging mind young and flexible. You'll know he's building dreams with you when his plans start to sound like "we" instead of "I." Listen for the small invitations, like, "What if we tried?" or "Would you want to someday?" And if you haven't heard those yet, don't be afraid to share your dreams out loud, even the quiet ones. When you speak your hopes with openness instead of expectation, the right man won't dismiss them. He'll start sketching blueprints in his mind just to see you light up. Has anyone ever made a plan just to see you smile, even if it wasn't something they'd normally do? I'd love for you to share it in the comments. And if you're still waiting for that kind of love, save this video, because sometimes the right kind of hope is worth holding on to. Because once a man starts shaping a future with you in mind, there's one more thing that often follows, something even more vulnerable and far less visible. Let's get closer together.
Number 4. The gentle teacher of life. Now, here's where mature love reveals its deepest wisdom. My neighbor's son-in-law, David, is 55 and recently married Anne, a woman who'd never experienced a truly stable relationship. I watched David do something extraordinary. Instead of being frustrated by Anne's occasional insecurity or need for reassurance, he became what I can only describe as the gentle teacher of life. When Anne would apologize excessively for small things, David wouldn't just say, "Don't worry about it." He'd pause, look at her with infinite patience, and say something like, "Anne, in my experience, the heart that cares enough to apologize for small things is a heart worth treasuring. You don't need to earn love here. You already have it." This is the fourth way older men love the one. They become patient teachers, sharing the wisdom they've gathered through decades of living, not to fix or change their partner, but to offer her the gift of their life lessons when she's ready to receive them. Psychologist Carl Jung wrote about this phenomenon in his later works. Mature individuals in love relationships often become what he called wisdom bearers, not as teachers standing above, but as companions who offer insight gently, almost instinctively. It's not about being right. It's not about proving anything. It's about offering the kind of emotional stability that only comes from experience, from failing, trying again, losing, healing, and still choosing to love. A mature man who's been through enough knows that life isn't always logical, but love can be grounding.
Number 5. The Sacred Space Creator. The ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu wrote, "The value of a cup is in its emptiness." Mature men learn that sometimes the most loving thing they can do is create emptiness. Moments of peace where their beloved can simply exist without having to be anything for anyone. This perhaps most profound way older men love the one is something I discovered through my friend Margaret's story. Margaret's husband, Frank, at 64, created what she calls her sanctuary. Not a room, but something far more meaningful. Every evening after dinner, Frank would wash the dishes while Margaret sat at the kitchen table with her crossword puzzle and tea. But here's the remarkable part. He never spoke unless she spoke first. When Margaret asked him why, Frank said, "You've spent all day being needed by everyone else. This is your time to just be, without having to be anything for anyone." Mature men who found the one understand something that takes most of us a lifetime to learn. That the greatest gift they can offer isn't just being there. It's creating a space where she no longer has to earn love with performance. No masks, no measuring up, just a presence so calm, so consistent, that she finally exhales in a way she didn't realize she'd been holding in for years. These men don't need her to always be cheerful, graceful, or strong. They know real love begins when the pedestal disappears and the real, raw woman is free to exist. Messy, silent, weeping, or wonderfully loud. And instead of trying to fix her or manage her, he simply stays. Because his presence isn't about control, it's about safety. A love that doesn't demand anything in return except truth. A space where being fully herself is not only allowed, it's cherished. I learned this lesson later than I wish I had. In the early years of my marriage to Sarah, I thought love meant filling every moment with conversation, activities, and connection. But as I matured, I discovered that true intimacy sometimes lives in the comfortable silences, the undemanding presence, the gift of space to breathe.
So if a man in your life creates pockets of peace where you can simply be yourself, without explanation, without apology, you found someone who understands that love isn't just about giving himself to you. It's about giving you space to return to yourself without fear. It's in the way he listens without fixing, stays without pressuring, and accepts without conditions. That kind of love doesn't shout or sparkle. It hums quietly in the background, steady as breath. It's a love that says, you don't have to be anything but exactly who you are, and I'll still be right here. And when a man offers you that, he's not just loving you, he's honoring your wholeness.
We've journeyed through 5 profound ways that older men express their deepest love, ways so subtle and sacred that only 1% of women recognize them for what they truly are. We've seen the silent guardian creating invisible shields of security, the keeper of small details, treasuring what makes you unique, the builder of tomorrow's dreams, growing beyond comfort zones for your joy, the gentle teacher of life, sharing wisdom as acts of devotion, and the sacred space creator, offering the gift of being yourself without apology. As the philosopher Khalil Gibran reminds us, love gives naught but itself, and takes naught but from itself. Mature love gives the gift of recognition, the ability to see these sacred gestures for what they are, and to treasure the rare soul who offers them. If you're a woman who recognizes these signs in your life, know that you've found something precious beyond measure. If you're a man who sees yourself in these behaviors, know that your love is being expressed in the most profound ways possible. And if you're still searching, remember this: the love that's worth waiting for isn't always the loudest or the most obvious. Sometimes it's as quiet as a morning watch from a porch, as gentle as remembered details, as patient as wisdom shared, and as sacred as space created for your soul to breathe. What resonated most deeply with you today? Have you recognized these signs in your own life? Share your story in the comments. Your wisdom might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel. Because together, we're not just talking about love, we're learning how to recognize the kind that lasts. Until we meet again, remember, the heart that has learned to love deeply is a heart that has learned to see truly.